The wind blew sharply through the nearly empty parking lot as evening light dimmed into soft gray. A skinny girl with tired eyes walked across the cracked pavement, unaware that within minutes her entire world would shift. She was small, quiet, and almost invisible in most crowds, someone nobody really noticed until she found herself suddenly surrounded. Heavy engines growled as motorcycles circled around her, their rumbling echo rolling across the wide-open lot. Large silhouettes blocked every direction, towering over her fragile frame. For a moment, it looked as though the world had shrunk into the circle of roaring bikes and suspicious eyes fixed on her. She stood frozen, clutching her worn-out backpack tightly, her heart pounding so violently it felt like it might burst from her chest. In that suffocating moment, fear gripped her so intensely that even breathing felt impossible. But what none of the bikers knew, what nobody ever guessed when they saw this thin, quiet girl, was that she carried a truth that could change the way anyone looked at her. And when she finally took off her old jacket, the sight of what lay beneath made every one of those men step back in stunned silence. If you believe in bravery, kindness, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Her name was Mia, a girl who had grown up learning how to hide from the world rather than confront it. Years of being judged for her thinness, her introverted nature, and her quiet voice had made her shrink herself emotionally just as much as she did physically. At school, she was never the tough one, never the girl people relied on, never the one who fought back. She had learned to disappear into corners, into silence, into shadows, yet life had taught her another skill too, one that no one could tell from her appearance. She had learned resilience in a way many would never understand. Her father had fallen seriously ill when she was 12, and because healthcare was a long battle they could not easily afford, Mia grew up in hospital corridors, watching strong people break down and gentle people fight unimaginable battles. Life's tragedies had built something in her, not muscle on her bones, but steadiness in her heart. On this particular day, she had been walking home after volunteering at a community shelter, something she did quietly without ever telling anyone. She liked helping others, not because it made her feel important, but because it helped her forget how small she felt in her own skin. The shelter was far, and the bus stop was closer to a long, abandoned side of the mall. That shortcut, which looked harmless during the day, now felt eerie as dim light stretched long shadows across every corner. Still, Mia walked with her head down, hoping to cross quickly and reach the main road. But the sound of engines roaring to life behind her made her stop in her tracks. At first, she thought maybe they weren't following her, maybe they were just heading out, until she turned and saw the circle forming. The bikers were big, broad men with leather jackets, gloves, and helmets with tinted visors that made their expressions unreadable. They weren't doing anything violent, but their sudden surrounding presence was intimidating enough to make Mia's legs shake. Her backpack strap slipped from her shoulder as she tried to step back, but the motorcycles slowly tightened the circle. She wasn't the kind of girl who screamed or ran. She simply went still, trying to process what was happening. The bikers exchanged looks with each other, murmuring beneath their helmets. She didn't know what they wanted or why they had stopped around her. She only knew one thing: she felt dangerously outnumbered. She had lived most of her life feeling powerless, and in that moment, the old familiar helplessness tried to swallow her whole, but something inside her refused to break. Maybe it was the years of watching her father's courage in the face of pain, or maybe it was simply the fact that she had no choice. The trembling slowly left her hands. Instead of begging or running, she simply reached for the zipper of her oversized jacket, the jacket she always wore to hide what she didn't want the world to see. Inside that jacket was a vest covered in dozens of service patches and embroidered badges. They weren't decorations, they were earned. Mia had spent 3 years volunteering for veteran support programs, disaster relief teams, and emergency response youth groups. She had learned basic safety training, first aid support, rescue assistance, and had been part of multiple community response drills, something she never spoke about at school. Her thin arms may not have been strong, but her training was. The vest wasn't a sign of power, it was a sign of purpose. So when she slowly pulled off her jacket and revealed those patches, the bikers froze. One of the men put his foot down to stop his bike completely. Another leaned forward as if trying to confirm whether what he was seeing was real. Mia stood silently, breathing steadily. The evening wind tugged at her jacket as she held it loosely in her hand, waiting for their reaction. For the first time, the bikers weren't towering over a frightened girl. They were facing someone who had given her time and heart to serving others. The leader lifted his visor, revealing tired but softened eyes. He wasn't angry, he wasn't mocking her, he was surprised. He stepped off his bike slowly, removing his gloves with a kind of respect she had never received from strangers before. The other bikers followed, forming a wider circle, not to trap her but to give her space. The leader took a deep breath, almost embarrassed, as though the truth behind her vest had shifted something inside him. Mia didn't know how to react. Her heart was pounding, but this time it wasn't from fear. The men exchanged quiet nods with her, and one by one, they stepped back. She didn't fully understand until the leader pointed gently to one of her patches, a memorial insignia dedicated to fallen riders. She hadn't met the man it honored. She had stitched the patch for his grieving family as part of a community tribute months earlier. That patch had meant the world to the people who received it, and now it meant something to these bikers who knew the lost rider personally. The truth clicked inside her. They weren't surrounding her to threaten her. They had recognized her earlier from a distance and wanted to ask her something, but ended up startling her instead. What happened next shifted the moment completely. The leader apologized quietly through his body language, his shoulders lowering, his stance softening. Mia didn't speak either. She didn't know what to say. She simply nodded gently, accepting the strange but sincere respect they were offering her. One biker stepped forward hesitantly and placed a small protective sticker on her backpack, one that marked her as safe with us. Among their riding community, she didn't know bikers had such things. She didn't know they could be gentle, but life had a way of breaking stereotypes in the most unexpected places. Mia walked home after the encounter with her jacket draped over her arm and her vest visible for the first time in public, feeling something she rarely felt: dignity. She didn't save anyone, she didn't fight anyone, she simply stood as who she already was, and the world had responded with respect rather than judgment. In the days that followed, Mia's confidence grew. She still faced challenges, still struggled with self-worth, still felt small at times, but she carried the memory of that moment whenever she needed strength. Sometimes life doesn't change in big events, sometimes it changes in a quiet parking lot, when strangers unexpectedly teach you that your worth is larger than your appearance. As Mia continued her volunteer work, she realized something profound. People often make assumptions based on what they see, but courage and kindness live deep inside, invisible to the unkind eye. Her thin frame didn't define her. Her quiet voice didn't limit her. Her vest wasn't just fabric, it was proof of impact, compassion, and service. And for the first time, she believed she deserved to be seen. Near the end of the story, her message becomes clear. Never underestimate the strength hidden in someone's heart, no matter how small they look from the outside. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps more emotional stories come to life. Before you go, write in the comments, strength comes in many forms.